All right, Liz, do you find it as odd as I do that Swalwell would make this claim that he has evidence of an extortion scheme and then not tell us what the proof is?
It's the same exact narrative. I had to laugh when you played that Adam Schiff clip about collusion. How does anyone take this person and these people seriously? They've been lying through their teeth for years, and it's the same exact playbook. And we saw it with the media echo chamber before. They repeated collusion over and over and over again to try to get a cloud to stick above the Trump presidency. It didn't work. It turned out there was no collusion. So what did they move on to? Obstruction. And then it was obstruction, and they beat that horse to death through the Robert Mueller report that cost us $32 million. And guess what? Also found no obstruction. So now, after weeks of quid pro quo, despite the promises that there were 8 quid pro quos in the transcript. Once President Trump released it, there was no such thing. But the media was repeating this phrase over and over and over again. But guess what? When it turns out that the actual quid pro quo was $1 billion being withheld by none other than Joe Biden to threaten and get a prosecutor fired who was looking into his son's company that he had no business being on, Burisma, the natural gas company in Ukraine. Now, all of a sudden, the narrative's changing again, and now it's extortion. And I can't tell you how many times I had to hear that from the mainstream media today. They're moving the goalposts because their narrative always falls apart.
Right. Well, you're exactly right. This is what it's called. This is what moving the goalpost is. When you make an allegation and you have no proof to substantiate that allegation and it falls apart, then you move the target because you want to continue your momentum forward, but your other target has disintegrated. That's what's happening to the Democrats right now. The American people, we can see this for ourselves. It's quite pathetic to watch. We will certainly call them out for it, so anybody who's not paying as close of attention does not fall for this. But the other part of this allegation, Liz, that I want to break down is the idea of extortion. Extortion is a domestic criminal law issue where both parties would be operating under the same rule of law. That means it doesn't apply to foreign policy. In fact, extortion in foreign policy is quite similar to a quid pro quo. It's a lever that's used quite often by presidential administrations to get their way from especially hostile nations.